Hello and welcome to Electric Focus, and today we're looking at energy prices. The government have recently announced there's going to be an energy price guarantee starting from the 1st of October. And how does that impact you if you've got an EV and you're on a time of use tariff? Is it still worth it? Well, let's get into the video and find out. Hello, and today we are talking about energy prices and specifically electricity and how that impacts somebody on a time of use tariff. Now, the government have announced an energy price guarantee of 34 pence per kilowatt hour average for usage, and for the standing charge 46 pence per day average. Now, I say average because it does vary by region, and we're going to look at a specific region today so you've got a clear example. Why does it vary by region? Well, mainly because of the difference of costs for infrastructure, supply, the mix of energy in the region. So that's why it varies. Not massively different really, but we use a clear example today so you can see the difference. Okay, so let's have a look at some numbers. And the first column here shows the government guaranteed rates for southern Scotland for this example so that I can show comparisons. So this is based on my annual usage for this year, which is split by off-peak and peak usage. So my peak usage for last year was 5,200 kilowatt hours or 65%, and my off-peak usage was 2,800 kilowatt hours of energy. So total usage last year was 8,000 kilowatt hours. So that's what we use for this comparison. So this is the government guaranteed rates, which start from the 1st of October for somebody who's on a variable rate or somebody who's on a fixed rate. Now, the only thing to be aware of there is if you're on a fixed rate, which is more than 17 pence above this rate, then the maximum it will be reduced by is 17 pence. So you could be paying slightly more than this if you're on a much higher fixed rate. However, if you're anything below that, then you will be reduced to the government guaranteed rate of, in this case, 33.76 pence per kilowatt hour. I hope that's clear. And anyway, so what does that mean in terms of a customer in southern Scotland who is on one of those rates? How much would that cost if you're using this kind of energy, 8,000 kilowatts a year? Now, the cost is the same for peak and off-peak. So the annual cost for, in this scenario, is 1,756 pence for electricity alone. 756 pounds for electricity alone. And the off-peak is £945. So the total, including the standing charge at £185, is £2,886. So that gives an average monthly cost of £240. So pretty significant even with the cap. So average rate is clearly the same at 33.76 pence, but it's important to see that figure. Okay, so how does that impact me personally on my current rate? And you might have already signed up to a specific rate yourselves already. So I signed up to Octopus Go around the sort of June, July this year. So that is fixed for the next year. So these are my actual rates that I am paying today. So 35.11 pence per kilowatt hour and 7.5 pence off peak. So that's where the significance comes in terms of costs. Now, my daily standing charge is fixed at 49.38 pence per day. So that's actually cheaper than the government cap. So that won't change, that'll stay the same. So taking the same usage with the split in peak and off peak and 8,000 for the year, then my costs will be £1,826 annual cost for peak, and then £210 for off peak, £180 for the annual standing charge, and a total of £2,216 for the year. And that averages out at £185 a month. So quite a difference compared with the government's cap of £240. So that's £55 cheaper. And the important number to look at is this average rate, which is 25.45 pence per kilowatt hour. And that's because of the off-peak element here. And if I could move more to the off-peak element, then this could drop even lower. But this is the reason that I think there's been no announcement on any change to time of use tariffs at the moment. Now, I have asked a direct question of Octopus and they've come back with a bit of a vague answer, but quite frankly, I can understand why they might not change these tariffs because of that figure I've just shown you of 25.45 pence per kilowatt hour. However, not being fully clarified yet, and we're going to speculate what that might mean in the last column. But anyway, it's still significantly cheaper for me on my current rate. Now, what about if I was on a variable standard rate at the moment? Is it worth switching to Octopus Go today? Well, I had a look at the rates in my region, which is this column here. And today it would cost me 40.13 pence per kilowatt hour for peak, and I'd still get this 7.5p per kilowatt hour for off peak. Standing charge is exactly the same, and the usage obviously is going to be the same in the example to show the comparison. So the annual peak cost of £2,087, £210 for off-peak, £180 for standing charge, so a total of £2,477 and £206 a month. So more expensive clearly than my current rate because it's a higher rate for peak, but still cheaper than the government's cap rate if you're on a fixed or a variable rate. And of course, again, if you move more to the off-peak area element, then you can reduce that further. But that gives an average pence per kilowatt hour of 28.71 pence per kilowatt hour. So still cheaper than the government rate, but clearly more expensive than my current rate. So what about if the cap was applied to the Octopus Go peak rate? Now, this is something I'm not sure that's going to happen, but I don't think it's been clarified yet because the Octopus Go rate is classed as a fixed tariff because it's fixed until July next year. So it does beg the question whether it should be considered, but we'll look at it anyway. Personally, it doesn't impact me much, as you'll see, but let's just have a look at it anyway, because it would impact somebody more if they are on the latest rate with Octopus Go. So we apply the 33.76 pence instead of the current Go rates, and then we leave everything else the same, 7.5 pence off peak. The daily standing charge remains the same because it's actually less than the government's cap in this example. Everything else the same, and we come down to total annual cost of £2,146 or £179 a month. Now, if you look at that, for me personally, that only makes a difference of £6 a month, so it's really not much difference for me. But if you'd just signed up to Octopus Go, you'd be paying £206 a month, and with the rate being reduced to the government cap, the peak rate, then you'd only be paying £179 a month. So that hasn't been clarified. Let's see what happens. But that would give an average pence per kilowatt hour of 24.58 pence per kilowatt hour. Okay, so that was a real deep dive into some numbers. I hope that was useful to compare to your own situation. And just a reminder that if you want to move to a time of use tariff, so something like Octopus Go, then you do need to have a SMETS 2 smart meter or a SMETS 1 smart meter labeled secure, so branded secure, so SECURE. So check that out before you start considering a time of use tariff. Certainly worth doing because, as you can see, you're better off as an EV driver. Now, that's important to know. Also, if you are an Octopus Energy customer, you do need to show proof that you are an EV driver to be able to benefit from the Octopus Go tariff. So another important thing to know. The other thing to be aware of is that I've had a look at the market out there in terms of other EV tariffs. And what I've noticed is that a lot of them have been stopped or paused for new customers. Existing customers seem to be able to continue and perhaps switch, but for a lot of new customers, those tariffs are not available. So it's perhaps around the ambiguity about what's happening with time of use tariffs with this new price guarantee, who knows? But just a little bit of information then, it might be useful. So I hope the whole thing was useful for you. As always, please like and subscribe, it really does help, and I'll speak to you soon.